This week, Genelec Music Channel presents Sounds of India, especially Rajasthan. Check it out. India is such a huge place that we had to zone in on one area because we had, I think, 10 days to do this. And we were thinking about which area we should go to. So, you know, I've always been interested in the music of Rajasthan and also the kind of a historical fact that the gypsies originate from Rajasthan. It's a one idea. It's kind of proven DNA-wise and linguistically, but the whole Rajasthan to me was just kind of like a mythological place. You have the Pushkar drummers and you have the gypsy origins and all that. So we wanted to go and see what we can find out over there. And it was a heavy trip. It was 43 hours spent in a van, driving from one place to another, and we went through Pushkar. I can't remember even the cities anymore. It was so much. It's like one big blur. But we got a good picture of Indian music. We started from Mumbai because we landed in Mumbai. We thought that we'd stay there for a little bit and we'd take the electronic kind of Bollywood history of India, and from there on we moved on to Rajasthan, to the countryside. Kawa Brass Band, it's from Jaipur, and it's a horn band. It's when I started to do research, it reminded me of the Balkan horn bands, of the gypsy horn bands from you know, Serbia, and I needed to get that, and I started doing research, and suddenly on YouTube I found all these different brass bands who are playing crazy Indian music with fast tempos, but with Western, like marching band instruments. So I found that really interesting, and we got hold of Jaipur Brass Band and hooked up with them in the middle somewhere in a cafe, and they started coming one by one into this with their horns and with their outfits on, and again, we had no idea where to film them, so they said that they know a great place, that it's an abandoned well. So I was like, okay, abandoned well, because to a Westerner, a well is kind of like a hole in the ground with the bucket that you hole in, you throw in. And over there, a well is basically a temple because water is sacred. So they built a temple, and this was an abandoned one. It was a 4-story well with 4 different floors going gradually down to the well. It was a beautiful cinematic kind of place to shoot them, and it was hot. I remember that. It was like 100 degrees Fahrenheit over there, and because it had been abandoned for so long, so we had to like sweep out broken glass and all this stuff, and it was a pretty amazing, joyful kind of experience, and it's kind of music that you don't have to be exactly on the spot. It's more like it's the noise that you create together and the energy that you bring up. That's the important thing. It was a very cool experience. Maganiar cast is it's outside of Jaipur when you start heading to the Thar desert. It's literally like the last village before you hit the Thar desert, and it's mostly sheep farmers. And the villages are basically mud huts, looks like Africa. And we went there to film a flute player called Tagaram Bil. And we went into his village, and then of course the local guys start coming around, and every other man is a musician. So with this one, after we filmed Tagaram, we started hanging out, and this guy brings out that sitar-like drone instrument. I don't know the name of it, but he started tuning it, and he tuned it completely out of tune to my ear. So I was like, no, a little bit higher, a little bit higher. So maybe he wasn't even looking for the perfect harmony there. He just put it into a kind of out of tune situation and then started drumming it. And after a while, when the vocal melodies came in, it made perfect sense. So this whole thing over there in India is completely put my thought of music into a brand new place. And we got on this one, there came Tagarams, the clay pot player, which is another percussive instrument where you blow every now and then. Never seen anything like that either. And it was great because there were kids running around, and one of the musicians, his little boy kept going, sitting in front of him and checking out what the dad does. So that's how it gets passed on. You know it as soon as he's big enough to throw that clay percussion up in the air, he will be doing that. And it's an interesting kind of music. They had like a Joe harp, but much bigger than the usual one. And usually it's just they make the sound with the teeth, and it goes forward, outwards. With them, they've swallowed the sound. So the sound actually goes into the belly, and then they use the belly as a resonator. So it was this kind of stuff all the time in India. It was just like, what did you do? What happened? Yeah, it's interesting group of guys, absolutely. It was a great afternoon.